Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Creatively Crafted Life. My name is Melanie, and today I have a special Calling Creatives conversation video. Of course, you all know Nikki's here in the craft room virtually with me. Hi, Nikki.
Hey, Melanie.
But we do have a special guest. We've got Cilla from Choice Bits of Bliss, right?
Yes, that's right. Hello, everyone.
I don't know why I always get stumble over the bits of bliss, but I always want to think it's something different. But anyway, so Cilla from Choice Bits of Bliss, I will have a link to her YouTube channel in the description below because of course you all need to go and check her out. We were really interested in what Cilla was doing in her craft room because she's been going through some changes, as have, well, you all know that I have, right? Like all I've been posting for the last how many months is me going through my paper. And Nikki has also been doing some purging and decluttering, right, Nikki?
Yep, I have. We do a yearly garage sale, so I'm excited to talk about it today.
Wow, a garage sale of crafting supplies. That sounds like heaven, right? For those of us that want to buy, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so I have a few thoughts on organization in the craft room in general and purging. So, but before we get into my thoughts, I would love to hear what kind of thoughts you had, like what triggered your declutter or your reorganization, and why did you feel it was necessary right at this point in time? So, Cilla, why don't we get you started?
Mine started with combining two spaces. I moved from Alabama, so I had my scrap room that I had had for almost 20 years in Alabama, and it was in my office slash scrap space, and I had hidey holes. So I didn't really see everything that I had, and I could convince myself that I had everything under control. And then we bought our house in New York, and I eventually moved in our home into a much smaller space. And there's no hidey holes. And all of a sudden, I was confronted with, oh my gosh, what in the world have I been doing buying all of this stuff? Not only did I buy all the stuff, but when I would come to New York and we had a week visit or whatever up here before we moved permanently, I would go to Tuesday morning and rebuy things that I had back in Alabama because I didn't have it up here and I needed it, of course. So
Mm.
you remember when they were coming out with all of the Maggie Holmes and the Jen Hadfield at Tuesday morning? Well, yeah, I've got two of almost all of them, which is ridiculous. And so I
Yeah.
had to face my own ridiculousness and get really, really honest about what to keep and what to let go.
So you moved everything and then did your declutter as opposed to doing it before you moved.
I did some before I moved, and I just wasn't honest. I mean, I don't, that is as gut level honest as I know how to be. I wasn't honest with myself at that time because I was still in that like fairyland of, oh, it's going to all be wonderful. I'm going to fit it in that room. I couldn't fit it in this room.
So yours was more triggered by a sense of necessity to just make it fit, or was it also that you just, maybe were feeling overwhelmed with what you had, or is it, I guess I'm just curious exactly what it is
There
that
was
you
a
were feeling.
progression. There definitely was a progression. At first, it was the practical side. I could not physically fit everything in this room. And then I became overwhelmed because I couldn't fit everything in this room. And then after that, it became more of a psychological thing because it was bogging me down mentally and emotionally to
Right.
have this stuff that I couldn't. I know in my lifetime, your lifetime, and Nikki's lifetime, we can't use all this stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So why, I had to get really, really honest with myself.
Were you a purger before this? Like, did you ever go through your stash beforehand and declutter, or was this one like your one and only big hurrah?
I was a sharer, so I was happy to share my supplies. That gives me joy. If I've got another crafter come in my space and they like this thing and they want to use it, absolutely, let's play.
Yeah.
But I was not a purger until it became necessary.
Right. Right. How about you, Nikki? What triggered yours, and how, like, your declutter, and what was your thoughts as you were going through it?
Yeah, so the thing that probably really triggered me was the garage sale. I knew it was coming up and I had a couple months to get ready, right? And I wanted to make money. Duh. Like, who doesn't want to make money? So the thing that I tackled first was my tower of paper, because I was getting to the point where it was popping out. Like, I would hear crashes in the middle of the night
Wow.
because all the plastic bags would shove one of them out,
Wow.
and so that's what I really tackled. And I've got one cube. I've got one cube that's still kind of doing it, and it's my like seasonal paper. And I'm kind of noticing that I'm not gravitating towards my seasonal paper right now. I want to use other things that have other fun colors that are not necessarily seasonal. So I still might go through and maybe save them for next year's garage sale, or Facebook. There's several Facebook groups where I can sell my stuff around the Kansas City area.
You obviously were quite successful, because I know the end of the story because she's already told me, but you were quite successful in selling. I don't even think about selling my stuff, because to me, I just think there's no market for it. So how did you sell your stuff successfully, and what did you do? So this garage sale must be well known in your area or something, right? Is it virtual? Was it in person?
It was in person. So I had a garage sale at my house, and I put it on all the Facebook groups that I'm a part of. And there's probably like 6 or 7 Kansas City area Facebook groups for scrapbooking. And then I put it on Facebook Marketplace. I put signs up in my yard. And the day before, the day of, I was constantly posting pictures of the items. So I was trying to gain that traffic, and it was successful.
That still blows my mind, because I can't. I don't know. Cilla, have you ever tried to sell any of your stuff?
It never occurs to me.
Yeah. I just figure nobody's going to want to buy it. Like, or it's going to be more hassle than it's worth to, collect money, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, I'm thinking more like online as opposed to in person. So maybe that makes a difference. Okay. So everybody's going to want to know, if you feel comfortable sharing, how successful were you?
I made $1,000.
Woo!
I know, yeah. Right?
Yeah, that was my personal garage sale. And then the following weekend, I did a group garage sale with 5 other ladies. And then I did a third garage sale the following weekend with just me and one other person at my house. So 3 garage sales, $1,000.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
and so now my next question is, how much of that have you spent on more craft supply? No, just kidding. Just kidding. You don't need to say that.
It's more of, it's nice to have cash on hand, you know? So when the ice cream truck comes around, I've got cash on hand for my ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. So making more memories to document. So did you feel like, was there a noticeable amount of space opened up in your place, or was it like mine where everything just kind of breathed and went and filled all the space that you emptied?
Yeah, so I definitely now have room to add things in, which I'm trying to be very selective about what I bring back in. I want to make sure that I really, 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 really like the collections that I bring. So one example is I bought the Moonlight Garden or something from Joann's because it was super cheap. Not my favorite collection, so that was like one of the first things that went, right? So I'm really trying to be selective in choosing what I want to bring back into my space.
So I'm terrible at being selective. I am a very much an emotional purchaser. And I love sales. That's my nemesis, right? Something that's on sale because it's a good deal. And the other part is just, if I like something about it or I like the idea of it, I have a hard time keeping myself restrained. I'm not proud of it, but it is my struggle. How about you, Cilla?
Sales trigger me. And I have it has taken me years, but I have had to build up these walls of defenses to keep me from just losing my ever loving mind when there's a sale.
So what is one of your strategies that you use to try and keep your purchasing in control?
I at first got rid of all the emails. I unsubscribed from the emails because that is one of my triggers. Is if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm scrolling and there's something on sale, I will hit buy before my brain cells even kick in. And then I get these surprise packages. Surprise packages.
So you sleep shop basically.
Do.
Wow. So emails, that's interesting because I find most of my emails just end up in the junk, like what is it with the iPhone? They've got, or iPhone, or maybe it's Gmail, where they have like a social, like they pre-sorted into the social grouping. So I just never go in there because I get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of emails. So I just never read anything. Does mean I miss out on some sales, but that's probably a good thing. My nemesis is Facebook groups where people go, oh, so and so is having a sale, or the shop is having a sale, and they'll post a big blurb on it. And then the other one is watching certain YouTubers who buy the latest and greatest.
So it's interesting to me because both of you have mentioned Facebook groups, and I think maybe I'm not following enough scrapbooking Facebook groups because I'm right now just low key jealous of NIkki that she has all of these or in her community Facebook groups that she can access physically. Like that is wild and great. I love that.
Yeah, don't blame us when you join 100 Facebook groups in the next 2 hours.
Yeah, so that's what I would recommend, because you just moved to New York, right? Like maybe see if there's like a New York scrapbookers or whatever area you're in, see if maybe there's some Facebook groups where you could connect with some other scrapbookers and maybe sell stuff or just get to know people. I think that's part of the thing, is like making a connection with people so they don't just think that you're weird and make a connection.
Now, NIkki also has an added advantage. She lives in the heart of scrapbooking country there, right? Because how many local scrapbook stores do you have within driving distance?
4. One went out of business and one, the owner passed away. So now we have 4. We used to have 6 like a year ago.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I think that also makes a difference if you live in a community or an area that you have a lot of people that are interested in it, in the hobby. I don't know anybody locally. Well, that's not true. I have met a couple of people recently, but not to the extent that I think would be interested in a garage sale. But I just give my stuff away. So I think I'm more like you, Cilla. I'm just like, I don't, I'd rather share it with somebody. Now, don't get me wrong. $1,000 is nothing to sneeze at. And if I had that in my pocket, I'd be pretty happy. But mostly I just give it away. And that's partly too because I'm just too lazy. I don't want to deal with having to, distribute it or collect money or any of those kind of things. But anyway.
And that's the thing, like having a garage sale, people come to you. And so all you have to do is price it appropriately, half off whatever the retail value was. And most of the people will jump at that opportunity, right? If say you have a $15 kit that's full and new, you mark it for $7.50, that's going to be bought.
So Cilla, how much stuff did you end up purging or decluttering? Do you know?
I don't think I have not measured. I know in your videos you measure, but I have taken, let's put it this way. When we moved here, I had my paper in 13 by 13 boxes that we had gotten from U-Haul. And I have removed from my space many 13 by 13 boxes full.
Wow.
Many.
Now, if you guys purge it, do you donate it? Like, what do you do with the supplies?
The first time I did so we have the neighborhood app. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I just posted on the neighborhood app that I had free supplies. At that time, I remember it was 4 boxes. And asked if anyone was interested. It was free porch pickup. And a teacher actually said that she was interested. She thought it was much less. And so when her husband came to pick it up, who had a bad back,
Oh no.
and they're heavy, they're super heavy. So my husband helped him load them in the car, and he was upset with his wife for asking for them.
Yeah, I don't think people understand, like, I don't think scrapbookers do anything in a small way, right? Like, if we're gonna purge, we're gonna purge. And yeah, it's, I don't think people have any sort of concept of what it takes. So the other part that I found with my decluttering is, like, it's a lot of pieces of paper to make an inch. Like, it's a lot. So I can't even imagine 4 13 by 13 boxes, how many sheets of paper that is. I'm impressed.
Now, was it just paper, or are there other things too, like stamps and dies in there?
There were other products as well that I
Okay.
let go.
Yeah. So have you ever regretted decluttering anything?
Not one single time. Have you?
No. But I say that with a caveat, because here's the thing that I find very interesting about decluttering. Because you've gone through it, it's front and foremost in your brain that you had it. So when you get rid of it, now you're doing a project, you're like, oh, I could use that piece of paper that I just decluttered, right? Because you remember it. But it's not like I regret it in the sense of I've got other stuff. Like, I've got plenty, like, that I could replace it. So that hasn't been anything significant. But I also don't get rid of the hard stuff. So I haven't really done like a declutter on my dies or my punches unless they don't work. So those things, I think I probably would regret more if I got rid of a tool that I then thought, oh, that would be good to have. But yeah, paper, you probably have something similar enough in what's left of your stash, I think. How about you, Nikki? Have you ever regretted anything?
One specific paper pad. Obed Marshall had like his groovy, papers, and I had sold it. And then the next day I had a design team thing that I needed that paper for. Luckily, again, I have a scrapbook store that's very close to me, and Dare to Be Artsy is the name of it. It's a actual designer of paper, and they had a groovy collection. So I bought 3 pieces of paper for my design team project. And then when I was done with it, it got thrown in the trash because I don't think I'll ever do another groovy type of layout again. That's not my era.
Well, that's not bad. One piece of paper. Now, do you think you remembered it because you got rid of it, or is it just you would have remembered regardless?
A little bit of both. I got rid of it because his colors are so pastel and girly, and I don't think, one, it was groovy, and I'm not a groovy person, like I said. I also have a boy, and I scrapbook a lot of male projects, so pastel was just not a thing, not for my style at least. And then I don't know if I would ever use it again. So I'm okay with getting rid of it. It was like $3 or 50 cents or something, for 3 new pieces of paper. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
Have you guys ever gotten rid of anything big? Like, I'm thinking like Cricut or, some type of tool or anything like that. Cilla, have you ever gotten rid of anything?
The original Cricut Explorer, yes, I've got rid of that. Have gotten rid of die cut machines because I'm compulsive and I see a new one and I think I gotta have it. And so the old one, yes, I will give to, but they've gone to good homes with people who are still crafting and using them. So yes, I definitely have.
And in that case, you've replaced it with something similar. So it's not like you don't have the tool. It's just a different looking tool or whatever.
Are you kidding me? I had it before I even got rid of it. I had new stuff already.
Yep, I feel that.
Well, I struggle getting rid of tools for sure. So I have the original Cricut still. It is tucked up, in my cupboard, which means I really should get rid of it. And this was actually one of my questions on the sheet was, do you have items that you should have purged but haven't purged, and why not? And that is one of them I really should purge. I still have the cartridges that go with it, et cetera, et cetera. And I am not an electronic die cut cutter machine, although Nikki's almost convinced me I need to buy the Cricut Joy. I haven't
Girl,
yet,
I love it.
but I know. But because I work with computers all day with work, I just don't like to do anything like that. And I know that about myself, but every now and then I get suckered into it. So, but that's probably something I should declutter, right? Like I haven't used it in 10 years, like over 10 years, probably 15 years. Like just let it go.
Are all of your cartridges uploaded to your Cricut?
It's the original. I don't even think it plugged into anything. You just had the cartridge spot. That was it. Like this was the first original Cricut from like, what was it? 2010? I don't know. 20.
Okay, so
I don't know.
I was still able to get all my cartridges uploaded to my library.
I don't even know how you would do that. Maybe we'll have to have a chat to find out how to do that.
Okay.
So this is a perfect opportunity to make some money, girl. You can sell once you've linked your cartridges like Cilla is talking about. So you have all the designs if you want it, or you can sell them for even more unlinked. People will buy those for a pretty penny.
Really?
I'm talking like $30 if you unlink it per cartridge. And you probably could get your machine probably for $50. But what I would do is I would just sell it as a bundle for $100. Depending on how many cartridges you have.
Right.
I've sold my original Silhouette Cameo for about 75. I've sold a Cricut with cartridges for about 150. So there's a market on Facebook Marketplace, at least in my area, but you have to think Cricut and Silhouette and those kinds of machines are used outside of scrapbooking, and a lot of people like making t-shirts and that kind of thing. So
Right.
it might be worth doing that on Facebook Marketplace.
Okay. There you go. The entrepreneur has spoken. I do not have that kind of spirit in me at all. I'm just like, oh, it's too much work. But okay, so there's a way that I should be able to upload them. Okay. I'll have to explore that. Thanks, Cilla. So how about you guys? Nothing that you guys have sitting in your crafting that you should have purged, that you just can't bear to part with?
I have two things. One is my Happy Planner supplies. I probably should get rid of some of them so I can store my current, stuff. It's currently at capacity, and that's why I need to get rid of stuff. And I'm toying with the idea of getting rid of my thickers. I have not decided if I'm going to do that or not, but I love my Cricut Joy for my titles and that kind of thing. The disadvantage with the Cricut Joy is that it's not dimensional for your title. And that's something that the thickers bring to the table when you're talking about adding titles and that kind of thing. So I'm still on the fence about it.
So will the Cricut Joy cut through foam, like fun foam?
I don't think so.
Because I was going to say you could easily make your own thickers, cut it out of cardstock, cut it out of fun foam, glue them on top of each other, and you've basically got a thicker.
Mm-hmm. I think you're probably just like the normal Cricut would do it, but you might have to have a special blade. I'm not 100% sure. I know with a Silhouette, you have to have a deep cut blade in order to do anything really thicker than cardstock. So,
okay.
But again, I have both, so I could do it, but I don't want to pull out my Silhouette. I want to just do my Cricut Joy because it's little and it sits on my desk.
Yeah. How about you, Cilla?
Oh, the We Are Memory Makers, or is it keepers or makers? It's the typewriter.
I think We Are Makers now.
Okay, so yeah, the typewriter that they came out with, I thought it was the thing I had to have, could not live without it. I've used it one whole time, and now it's just become a decorative piece.
Right. So is it that it just doesn't work well, or is it that, because I had heard some rumors about that, and then, or is it just that it's not part of your process?
It is a manual typewriter, so you have to really hit the keys to type, and it just becomes a little laborious. It's not as convenient as the Cricut Joy sitting on my desk.
Right, which is interesting. I actually bought an old school typewriter, not the We Are Memory Cubes, but I went on eBay and bought an old one, and I will use it for typing. I like using it to type the strip journaling. I like doing that, but again, it's one more piece of something that you got to pull out and put on your desk, or if you have it out somewhere, which I don't have the space for, but maybe I would use it a little bit more. So you're still holding on to it. Will you ever get rid of it?
You've got me thinking that I need to now. I need to just let it go.
Well, the thing is it takes up a fair amount of space.
It does.
That's a lot of paper. A 13 by 13 box full of paper. No, just kidding.
No, if you're for real, that's true.
It's tough because it's pretty. So here's the thing with We Are Makers is I find a lot of their stuff gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. They're cool ideas, but it's like, okay, how long does the idea remain cool, right? Like, so I try and be very discriminating when that I can be discriminating. I can be, not very often, but I try and be discriminating with those kind of things because I've learned in the past when I bought stuff that I end up not using it long term. Oh, Nikki's got something to say there.
Okay, so gimmicky. Yes, 1000%. I bought the So Easy because you're supposed to be able to like puncture holes for sewing, right? This doesn't go through cardstock. I'm pissed. It doesn't go through cardstock. It only goes through like printer paper. And so as a scrapbooker, this is useless to me because it doesn't go through. It needs to be like metal tips instead of plastic. The plastic bends, it doesn't stay sharp. It doesn't go through cardstock. So I'm a little upset with this one.
So I have that somewhere in this space. I have that one. But I could have swore I got it to go through cardstock, but maybe it was thinner cardstock. Or maybe I have the older model. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
Big bummer. I'm very upset about it. I kind of want to reach out to them and be like, give me my money back because this doesn't go through cardstock.
I have a question. I'm super curious, Nikki, because you are obviously younger than us and you're in a different season in your scrapbooking. Was it more than just making money that kind of gave you the urge to purge, or was it just the making?
It was the space. Yeah, it was the space too. I was overflowing. I talked about in the middle of the night things would fall down because I just didn't have the space. I'm probably going to have to do another purge because I'm thinking about moving my scrapbook room to my basement, and it'll be much more open. Right now I can close the door. So now I got to kind of rethink my storage situations, kind of like what you had to do, Cilla, when you made your move. I'll probably have to purge again.
Because you're going to have less space, or just because of the way it's going to be configured?
Both.
Yeah, the space thing, that's I think probably a big deciding point for many people, right? You only have so much space, and what do you do with it when you're at capacity? Like, now, are you guys good about keeping to designated space? So a lot of people, their strategy is, I have a Calyx cube designated for this. When that cube is full, that's it. I stop buying until I get rid of stuff or use stuff up. Are you guys good at doing that?
No, clearly, because my stuff was falling out of my cubes. And I have started the bad habit of having a 13 by 13 basket right next to my desk. And if I don't want to put it away right away, it goes into that basket.
I had to grow into that mentality because I'm like Nikki. I see it, I want it, and why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I get it? I know this looks egregious behind me, all this stuff, but this is, when this is full, I don't buy those seasons anymore. And I will, when I see a collection that I just am in love with and I feel like I have to have it, stuff has to go.
Yeah. Well, I commend you guys that are really good at doing that sort of thing. I am still of a mindset of, I will find space for it. and I really have to stop. And it's only been probably in the last year where I've been telling people, like, I've hit capacity. Like, there really is no more space I can eke out of this room. Like, it is so full, which is why I started the paper purge, was to just free up space. But man, I am such an emotional scrapbooker. Like, in the moment, if I just shopper, I mean, if in the moment, if I love something, I just can't not.
What was your tipping point?
I couldn't move in my room. Like, I had so many piles on the floor. I couldn't move, or I was bumping into things and things were toppling over, and I'm like, okay, this is it. This has got to be done. It's a little, Like I've gone through my calyx section, which you guys, if you've been watching my videos, would know. I still have a closet to go through that has paper in it, but my goal is to get almost all my cardstock in that one contained area. I think that will help give me a visual of how much stuff I have, similar to I think what you were experiencing in your other home in Alabama, Cilla, where you've got pockets of stuff where you can convince yourself you don't have as much stuff when it's spread out, right? So I think that will help. I love paper. Like that's my passionate supply, if you want to call it. Like I'm always going to buy paper. I did a big declutter on stamps last year. I have not done dies. I think I would have a very hard time purging. But stamps I did, and even that was hard. And I have a massive collection of stamps. But again, I ran out of room. What are you going to do? You have to get rid of it. So yeah, but I still wish I was a little bit more contained in that. Okay, don't buy anything more of this category. There's a few that have been easier to do. Like I am not allowed to buy enamel dots. Like I have so many enamel dots. I swear they breed overnight because I keep getting more and I'm not buying them. But if you take a class, they throw in a package or 2 or 3.
Yes.
Sometimes they're freebies when I go to an event. So that's one. The thickers, I'm shock and horror when you say that you're going to get rid of your thicker. But that's another one. I have like 3 bins of them. It's like, okay, Melanie, you're not allowed to buy any more thickers. But then I take a scrapbooking class and you end up with 5 more packages of it. So those are a little bit easier. Paper, I don't know. I don't think I cannot not buy paper.
Oh, I know. It's hard too, because I'm on several design teams now where I'm supporting stores. And so I need to buy product from them to like help promote their product. And so now I'm having to be very selective about what I purchase outside of those stores so that I can still have the opportunity to promote them.
Right.
I'm curious, when you purchase from those stores, do you already have projects in mind so that you know what you're going to use?
This is month 2, so no. Yes. Yes and no, right? Like in August I'll be doing a Disney signature book, and so I purposely purchased Disney paper from one of the stores, but half the time I'm like checking the online store to make sure that they have what they already have in my stash at the same time. So it's a little bit of mix. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is an added challenge if you're working on design teams and stuff like that to have the right mix of stuff. I have since stopped keeping track of things like by designer manufacturer for the most part. And it's just all mushed together. So man, if I had to start working on a design team, I don't know how I would store the stuff separately to keep track of it. I don't know. It would be a challenge, that's for sure.
So you recently went through like your Maggie Holmes and Paige Evans piles, right?
Yeah.
Did you mix those in?
No, so I have a few sections that I keep separate. So Maggie Holmes, Paige Evans, Vicki Boutin, I keep separate. Felicity June, I keep separate. The only reason is because they have very distinct styles and very distinct color palettes. And so they're easy to intermix. I don't keep their collections separate from each other. I just merge them all together because, again, I think they can all work for the most part intermix. And I love having options. That's why I have this craft space, is because I love having options, right? And that's something I've learned about myself. I have also broken up a lot of collections and put them more into like color categories. And I know someone who was watching one of my videos just said, like, I could never do that. Like, I work from collections. And I'm like, I do sometimes, but for the most part, I like having more options than what a collection offers. And I know some people find that the opposite, right? That too many options is overwhelming and debilitating. So for me, it just makes sense to break it up so that when I'm looking through my red section, I see all the options that are available to me. Now, does it make a difference in the scheme of things? No. You find a red piece of paper that works, it works, you move on. But for whatever reason, it makes me feel better to have options. So no, yeah. I guess it comes back to keeping stuff separate. Those are really the only only 4 people or 4 designers I keep separate. Everything else is either by theme or by color. Well, and I do keep
You're
collection.
second guessing yourself there.
Well, because I do keep some stuff by collection. Don't get me wrong, I haven't disbanded every single collection I own, but it's more if I think I'm going to use it as a collection that I keep it together. And who knows, maybe next year when I do this all over again, I'll change my mind. I don't know. Now, Cilla, you're a collection worker, right? Like you like to work from collections. Is that a fair assessment?
Primarily, yes. Occasionally, I do have loose papers that I like to combine and create kits. I like that process of creating a kit across different brands and different designers. My brain has to be ready for that. And so when I'm stressed, busy, it's just so easy to go to a collection.
I love putting together kits too, but then I just love playing with paper. So how about you, Nikki? Are you primarily a collection?
I am, and I'll put my single sheets into collections like we did with that counterfeit kit for Vicky Booten. I still have that one, and I love using it. So I have added some of my single sheets into my collections to help bolster it too.
Yeah, it's definitely takes down on some of the decision fatigue for sure, right? Like if you've already gotten it kind of pre-filtered or pre-sorted out. We're rambling now on to process. So let's get back to the organization and where we're at. So Cilla, what's next for your craft space? Are you happy with where you're at? Are you going to continue to do some more reorganization and purging, or are you just going to be crafting for the next little bit? Or maybe not. Maybe you're going to be traveling.
I am going to be traveling, but I have an overarching goal so I have paper stored across from me, and I have overflow, and I have this. So my overarching goal is that everything else goes away, and the only paper I have will be behind me. So I have this is a 5x5 unit. So I have 2 rows that are tools, inks, and then I have this large section directly behind me that has the paper in it. That's enough. It honestly is enough.
Yeah.
This right here will last me for the rest of my life. But right. So getting the rest of this work down and into just this location is my just huge goal. It's going to take some time.
Yeah. Is your strategy, like, what's your strategy to work through it? Is it primarily purging, or is it that you're focusing on using it, or a combination thereof?
A combination. One of the things that helps me keep that focus is joining challenges. That gives me that drive to keep creating, and it helps me see the things that I thought I liked it in the beginning, and then once I'm trying to use it, I realize maybe I don't like it as much, or maybe I bought it because I saw someone else do something great with it, but it's really not working for my projects. So the more I touch it, the more I realize what can stay and what can go.
Right. Now, are you going there first? Like, for instance, because I know you like to do the 30-day sketch. What is it? What is it called?
30 days.
30 days of sketches with Chris's beautiful life.
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
So I know quite often you'll do that when you kind of prep it out, right? Like you get the sketches and you match up collections or whatever. Do you go first to this extra stuff, or do you still pull from the collections behind you?
So I have a bin that is specifically for it's collections that I have used, but I still like it, and I have a little bit left. So I put it in that bin. That's what I draw from for my 30 days of sketches. I can get rid of 30 to 35 of those collections, those used up collections, quickly. And then I start putting more in that bin to replace them. So I keep that bin kind of recycled.
That's actually a really good idea. So you've already narrowed down your list, but you still have a lot of choices available.
Yes.
And the thing when you start keeping stuff by collections at some point, you're going to have used up so much of it that it's not much of a collection anymore, right? So this is your opportunity to use it up, I guess. What's left?
Yes, it's easier to make those refined decisions, because if you've used it and you've used it and you've used it, and that 1 or 2 pieces of paper are still left, there's a reason.
Yeah.
It's just not as groovy as you thought it would be.
Fair enough. What about you, Nikki? What's next?
Well, like I talked about, moving my space from upstairs to downstairs. Now, it might be a couple years before I do that. So I've got time to kind of figure out what my plan is going to look like, what the space is going to look like. I have time to build it, that kind of thing. Because it's definitely going to have to be built. Like I'm going to have to do built-ins or something along those lines in order to store my stuff. Um, I might keep these shelves and maybe that's how I do it. I don't know. So I've got time, but in the meantime, I'm going to try to continue to use what I have and only buy things for specific projects, especially because I'm on design teams now for specific stores.
So restrict your purchasing and
Yes.
use what you have, but you're not planning on doing any more decluttering or anything like that at this stage, unless it's just kind of the odd thing here and there.
Yeah, probably the odd thing here and there. And I might just keep a bin so that, maybe in October I do another garage sale. Who knows? I don't know. Kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah. See what you feel like, right? I think that's a big part with decluttering and purging is you have to be in the right frame of mind to do it. If you don't want to declutter, I think you're going to have an immensely difficult time getting rid of stuff. I've also found though that if you can get that ball rolling, it gets much easier, right? Eventually you just say, okay, I can let it go. Or as we were talking last night on a Zoom with some friends, and they were talking about my declutter. They're like, we thought we had you figured out, and then all of a sudden you started decluttering all these papers that we thought you liked. And it's just because as you go through stuff, you just get kind of tired of it, and you're just like, you know what, let's just let it go. It's fine, it'll be fine. So I still have more paper decluttering to go through. I do feel that I need to do something with my embellishment. I'm not quite sure how to approach that. Like, what would be the best way?
And this is why I like my collections, because I keep my embellishments with my collections. And so I don't really have a box of collection or ephemera or whatever. I have flare in those acetate film sheets, which can be used on any layout. And those are like my two categories that I have that are extra ephemera.
Wow. Well, I have everything. Not surprising. Still is smiling. You too?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think I'd get rid of any category per se. So then it's like, what do you do? Do you have to go through like every button and you know what I mean? Like I'm not quite sure how to approach decluttering that. So if any of you that are watching have any suggestions, let me know what's the best way to go through, because I'm sure there's stuff that I could get rid of that I know I will never use because I just don't like it, but it's been too much work to go through. So I don't know. How about you, Cilla?
My nemesis for months now, it's been a bit, is the paper ephemera die cuts.
Yeah.
Because they, like your enamel dots breeding, I feel like those breed. You put them in a dark space and they just grow. So I've started doing is when I'm doing those kits and I'm seeing that I'm getting down to it, you still have a lot of embellishments left.
Yeah.
I've started making decisions then at that point in time. Okay, I'm never going to use this boot with flowers in it, or I'm never going to use this cactus or cacti or whatever it is, this avocado. Yeah. I'm not ever going to make a layout about avocados. So those things that to me are just not practical or usable, maybe usable to someone else.
Right. And so what have you been doing in that case then? Are you just, because a lot of times you're only going to get a few pieces that you're decluttering at a time. Do you just store them somewhere until you accumulate, or?
I am. I'm putting them in little envelopes and little bags and throw them in I constantly keep a purge box. That is an ongoing thing in my life. So when I get a little baggie full or a little envelope full, I throw them in the purge box.
I think that's what I need, is the purge box. And I like that idea as you're going through stuff, if you're done with it, if you finished a project, just go through it and figure out what didn't you use and would you still use it.
Make sure that your box is something that you can just take and donate. Don't make it like a nice bin or something like that, because then you'll have to go through the box again and maybe you'll find something you want to keep. You make sure it's a cardboard box or something you're actually wanting to get rid of.
That's a good idea.
I'm
That's a good idea.
curious, after purging, have you ever gone back to it and pulled something out?
So here's my nemesis. This is truly my nemesis. Organizational tools in bins. I can't get rid of them. I have tried. They have gone all the way down into the trunk of my car to go drop them off at Goodwill. And 2 days later, because I never go right then and there, I'm like, ooh, that bin would work really great over here. And so I have gone in and pulled out like bins. I have not gone back and pulled out paper or anything, but organizational tools, I can't get rid of them. But I also, what do you do with them? Like, to store them is a pain. How about you?
I have a closet that has bins and boxes in it because they look really useful.
Some of them even have the name on there, useful box.
Maybe that's a sign that you do need to use one of your stored organizations as your purge box, so you can let that go too.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, it's tricky because I think part of the problem is that I am always reorganizing, and I don't anticipate that I'm ever going to have the quote unquote perfect layout organization because I'm constantly changing what I'm doing. And so what I want where is always going to change. And so, I hate spending more money on organizational supplies if I've bought stuff in the past, but it's also, I'm at the point now where what do I do with these, right? And it doesn't make sense to store them. So I think I do just have to let them go. But anyways, we'll see.
When you reconfigure your space, the way you have it right now, the products that you're using to organize with, it won't work if you reconfigure. And that's what happened to me when I moved from Alabama. What I had in Alabama didn't work up here.
Yeah.
So I had to buy a whole lot of new stuff and I couldn't let that go.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, I know. Anyways, for those of you that are watching, we'd love to hear any tips and tricks that you have on decluttering, and maybe tell us a little bit about your journey, what you struggle with. We'd love to hear. Thank you so much, Cilla, for joining us. And again, thank you, Nikki, as always. It's been fun. And until next time, everyone, happy crafting.